I'm Shelby Sim, and this is the Ynez Valley. 6 beautiful communities with a million things to offer. Delicious food, world-class wine, and more fun than you can imagine. But at its heart is a community of great people with stories to share. Join me and let's discover the Ynez Valley. The Ynez Valley has a rich, vibrant, international history. Today we're in the Danish village of Solvang, where we will be celebrating its Scandinavian roots. We're here at the incredibly beautiful and historical Elverhøy Museum in Solvang. We're about to meet with the longtime executive director, Esther Jacobsen Bates. Oh. And the latch string is out, meaning we can go in. Esther.
Welcome, Shelby.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to the Elverhøy Museum of History and Art.
Wow, it's wonderful to be here.
Good to have you back.
Oh my golly, I always enjoy my time here at the Elverhøy Museum, and I got to tell you, the first time I noticed what's on the door here.
It's kind of a gorgeously carved redwood door that tells a lot about the story of the museum. The family that built this and made this their home were enamored with the first Danish national play called Elverhøy. And this is a depiction from a scene in the play that Viggo Brandt Eriksson, it was Viggo and Martha's home, Viggo carved here. You can see the nymph dancing in the woods in the nighttime, and there's a nod to the California lifestyle down on the bottom. You see the California quail down there?
Yes.
So he's incorporated in part of his California story at his home here in Solvang.
We've barely made it through the front door, and already we're getting an education in Solvang and Danish history. And this was a home.
This was a home built by 2 artists. They spent about 4 years hand building it, and I can show you some of the details that they put into their home. In fact, close that door and you're going to see a couple of the really interesting things. You pulled the latch string to come in.
Yes.
That's how our museum guests enter the building. The beautiful hand-done, hand-forged ironwork on the door. I think one of my favorite things here is those giant latches. They're beautiful. And they match a lot of the other hand-done details in the room here. You can see above you the hand-hewn beams. Those are all part of the building that was built without originally any nails in the construction.
My goodness.
Yes, very old world style techniques, and the community was pretty fascinated by the process as they watched this structure develop over the 4 years it took for them to build it.
You really don't see incredible craftsmanship like this today.
Now, rest assured, we live in California. It's gone through a complete seismic retrofit. There's lots of nails to make it withstand any earthquake we may experience here.
Wonderful.
But you still get to see all the beautiful artistic details that the family used in their home.
Yeah. Well, we're so honored to be out here, and especially in this second season, to learn about the Elverhøy and especially meet with you, Esther. It's such an incredible treasure trove of history in the Ynez Valley and Solvang overall. I know that we have events here and fundraisers and so many things, but let's talk more about the museum and what it has to offer.
Well, we're kind of the gathering place for the art community here, but also the hub for the culture and the history of Solvang. Our displays speak to that story, starting with, of course, the structure itself, one of the really, truly authentic Danish-style buildings in town. You'll find the real half timber construction on this building here. So let's start out in the kitchen area of the museum. I think that's one of our guests' favorites. So come on and follow me this way.
Fantastic.
Shelby, I think this is probably one of the favorite rooms in the museum. We actually have people who come in with paint swatches to match for doing this in their own home. And this kitchen is original to the home, all hand painted by Martha Brandt Erickson, one of the two members of the couple that built the home. Now it's outfitted as a kind of 18th century Danish kitchen, complete with a peat burning stove and such, but it's still a favorite area with the beautiful paintings on the wall.
You can almost smell the fresh Abel skeevers. It's incredible. It's small, as Old World is, but still incredibly workable. There's plenty of room in here to...
It is. It's a gorgeous space, and we use this a lot when we have events and activities. We'll serve food here in the kitchen area for our guests that come through, and we love to party here at Elverhoy. That's one of the things Danes do really well, and you can't have an occasion without food and drink, so that's pretty much always part of things. And we're so fortunate to have all of our local benefactors and donors who contribute wine, who contribute beer, and a lot of those beautiful fresh produce that we use for food around here.
Fantastic. It's certainly one of the reasons I've stuck around in the Santa Ynez Valley and will continue for many years. People who love to enjoy life.
Absolutely. And that's a Danish tradition that goes back a long way. So we like to perpetuate that here at the museum and invite everybody to join us in doing that.
Where should we head next?
Well, let's go around the corner and we're going to show you a little bit about what brought the Danes to the United States and then on to California. So come on this way with me.
Okay. This is a great museum. You can really soak in the history of the area and see it from another perspective.
Shelby, we're in the immigrant room here. This tells the story of the Danish immigrants who came from to the United States. The main exodus was between about 1860 and 1910, and there was a major influx of Danes that came to the United States and eventually to Solvang. This room depicts a rural one-room farmhouse, which was typical of the immigrant. It was often the oldest of a large family. We have this print on the wall here, which really tells a lot of the story. That's called Saying Goodbye. It's the young man. You can see him walking away on his way to America, and it was really almost like a little death in the family, because when he left, the chances were the family would never see him again.
Can you imagine traveling so far, seeking a new life?
The story continues here on our back wall, where we talk about immigration to the United States, and the Danes that came to Solvang, most especially in the early years, came from another part of the United States before they made it to Solvang. It was a long, expensive trek, and a lot of them ended up actually in the Midwest before they came here to purchase the land that became Solvang. They came searching for a spot on the West Coast. They have a very broad search area. In fact, let's go ahead and go in here, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the story where we've got some of it shown on display.
Terrific.
So now you're in the Solvang room, where we really tell the story of the town and the beginning and the founding. So those Danes that met in Iowa, actually, it was 3 Danes that were at Grandview College, educators and theologians, and they had a plan. It was very purposeful. They came to the West Coast in search of property where they could establish a Danish colony. This would be a place for higher education and also a place where Danes could band together for support while learning to be part of the American society and having opportunities that they just weren't finding where they lived. Also, our beautiful climate was part of the draw that brought them ultimately to Solvang after an extensive land search. And it was in 1911 when they purchased almost 9,000 acres of land that went right up to, but did not include, the Mission San Ynez, which was the only structure that was really here in the area at that time. The founders wanted to incorporate a community, and that community quickly grew. The Danes were entrepreneurs. A lot of them were dairy farmers. They brought that tradition with them to the United States, and they were also farmers. So town grew quickly, and even though Solvang was the new kid on the block, so to speak, quickly became the commercial hub of our little valley at that point. So I think one of the biggest questions I'm asked that people always want to know, well, how did it become the Solvang that we know today with the look that we see? Because for many years, the Danish culture was really a part of the everyday lifestyle, but it was not on display in the downtown. So it was the media that really made a big impact and drove the change in downtown. The Saturday Evening Post in 1947 ran a big article about Solvang. Beautiful photographs, real glowing text, and that went into almost every home in the United States, talking about Solvang. So people started coming here looking for that Danish culture. The photos have been taken at the Danish Days the previous fall. And the businessmen in town, many of whom had recently returned from service in World War II, were also looking at a way of growing the town, which had kind of gone into a bit of a slump during the war years. So it was a kind of internal pressure amongst the businessmen, and it was decided that the downtown, which had that kind of Western look, as you saw in all those photographs, would be transitioned, and the Danish culture of the town's immigrant founders and residents would become part of the image of the downtown.
And that's the Solvang we know today. Of course, it's evolved a whole bunch since then, and more folks are welcomed, and more high-end wineries and restaurants. But my golly, Danish capital of America was born.
I also think that once you visit the museum, when you go downtown, you have kind of a different lens through which you view the downtown. It isn't built because it was there to attract tourists. The town has real Danish roots, and it was built to kind of meet the demand for sharing publicly of that Danish culture.
Absolutely. Now let's get back to the museum. I understand there's no cost.
We pride ourselves on making our museum as accessible as we can. We don't charge for admission. We do recommend a $5 donation.
But everyone is welcome, and if you don't have that $5, that's okay. We want everybody to come.
And we want to share the story so that when they go uptown, they see beyond the first layer.
I understand you also have changing art exhibitions.
Yeah, let's go check out the gallery. That was kind of the core of the building when it was first a home here.
Fantastic.
Come on with me.
It's really great to see how passionate Esther is about this community's history.
So we're in the art gallery. Our space in here has exhibitions that change every few months, so you're always going to find a new experience. But today, you're looking at almost 400-year-old works by one of our master artists, Rembrandt.
Oh my goodness.
So it's just a really special experience to be able to see this. Of course, next time you come, Shelby, it'll be a completely different exhibition that's in here and a whole different energy because we change our displays here about every 3 months.
So special. Esther, can't thank you enough for the visit today.
It's been great having you here, Shelby.
Super being here. I've had the pleasure of being out here for many events, and Esther's such an amazing hostess. I know there's so much more to the museum that we can't get to today, but
there is. We ran out of time. Yeah. We've got a beautiful diorama, little hand-carved scale model buildings of Solvang circa the late 1920s, really popular with families and adults too.
Absolutely, no doubt I will be here again soon. Esther, please let the audience, the watching audience, know how they can find out more and visit the Elverhøy Museum.
You can find us online and on Facebook, on Instagram at elverhøy.org, and Facebook on Instagram at Elverhøy, and that ends with a J, that's that Danish spelling, at elverhøy.org. So thanks, Shelby.
Again, Esther, thank you so much. The Elverhøy Museum, what a treasure right in the middle of the Danish capital of America in the St. Ynez Valley. You have to check this place out for yourself. You'll be glad you did. The Elverhøy is all about the valley's international history. And now we're going to visit a winemaker who came all the way from South Africa and has opened a winery in the quaint town of Los Olivos. One of the advantages of being in the Santa Ynez Valley is your friends, a lot of your friends, are excellent winemakers. And here's a case that we are with Ernst Storm, one of my good pals in the Santa Ynez Valley, and I'm really happy and honored that you have us out to your tasting room here in Los Olivos. Ernst, please tell us your story and how Storm came to be.
Shelby, first of all, thank you for being here. Shelby is one of those very colorful people here in the valley, which glad to call you friend.
Cheers, thank you. That's very sweet.
I'm Ernst Storm. We're a small family-owned winery here in Santa Ynez. I'm South African. We came to the area in 2005 and started Storm in 2006 with the goal to make these wines that really capture Santa Barbara County and do it on a scale that really captures the personality of our style and this beautiful area we call home.
And they do. Santa Barbara County has amazing wines, as I've said before. 88 different varieties are grown at least amongst all of our communities. But Ernst does an amazing job. He does a great job of getting his wines in the restaurants. This Sauv Blanc we see in front, which we have a little sip in our glass, is just amazing. And the mass appeal of this one particular wine is crazy good. So what got you into wine?
Yeah, I grew up in South Africa. And my dad retired. We moved to an area in a wine region, and growing up on a farm, I was always drawn to being close to nature and being creative. And winemaking seemed like something that really fit. And yeah, I studied wine in South Africa and wanted to explore a little bit of the Northern Hemisphere and came to the US in '03. And really loved what I saw, and yeah, did a little traveling around California, and Santa Barbara was the closest to the Western Cape, Mediterranean climate. Really fell in love with Santa Barbara and what it had to offer.
You can really appreciate Ernst's passion for wine, considering he moved across the world to make it here. Well, we're lucky you landed here in Santa Barbara County in the Santa Ynez Valley. You have a brother that makes wine as well. Did you both grow up in the wine? Did you both know you wanted to do wine before you came, or? Yeah,
my brother started studying wine a year or two before me, and then I started studying wine. And yeah, no, we knew that was something we wanted to do. It's something where you're close to agriculture, you're close to nature, you're creative, and the lifestyle that goes along with winemaking and owning a winery. I think it's hard to find something that you can compare to.
As we both know, there's many different styles of making wine. And there is more science, there is more feel, there's biodynamic, there's using the rotations of the moon. And what would you say is your style primarily?
I think our style is definitely, we always say the reality is we make the kind of wines we like to drink. I think if you start there, you're on the right track. When you're making wines in a classic style, winemaking becomes a lot more easier because you have good chemistry. And we've been doing this for 15 plus years, and we're now able to build up a track record and sit back and look back at what we've done and see how these wines change and evolve. And it's all because it's a certain style that we've stuck to from the beginning.
What is your production, the yearly production?
Under Storm we do about 2,500 cases. Yeah, so it's relatively small. We keep it really tight. It's my wife and I, her sister, and then we have one other permanent employee. So we spend a lot of time doing different things, wearing different hats, but it keeps it fun and it keeps it authentic and real.
Yeah, it does, and you can taste it in the wines. I'm looking forward to tasting these. Real quickly, can you tell us about the tasting room and the art and what's the goal here for people to feel?
So we opened the tasting room last year. The space was sitting here empty for many years. I drove by and it's one day it dawned on me that this is the perfect spot for us. We don't want to be in the limelight. We want to, do our thing and have it be very organic. So my wife and I run this with Amanda, Brooke's sister, and Axel. And yeah, we try to make it an extension of our home.
And the art choice, more
The
abstract.
art, more abstract. This is our friend Tim from Presqu'île, good friend of ours. And yeah, the first round of art we're gonna put in here really captures the energy of the room and us. So it all comes full circle, which is kind of fun.
It really does.
Yeah.
In the Santa Ynez Valley and Santa Barbara County overall, it's where everyone can work together and how it comes to be. That's one of my favorite things about vintners here. They don't look at each other as competitors, but more as collaborators. And that means we all win in the end. Well, let's dig in here. What do we have?
Yeah, so the first wine we're tasting, which we have in our glasses now, is the 2020 Sauvignon Blanc.
I had it in my glass. I
You
will
had
just
it?
make a comment.
You had it?
Yes.
And
Thank you.
this is our workhorse. As you've said, you know, we try and sell as much as possible to local restaurants. Sauvignon Blanc is one of those wines that I grew up making and learning from, and really created a philosophy around Sauvignon Blanc to bring as much out from where it's grown, and this area has huge potential for Sauvignon Blanc. So we follow more of a southern hemisphere approach in the northern hemisphere, and it seems to work. It seems to really keep it fresh, crisp.
Wow, so good. What do we have here? And please tell us about the labels. We noticed some have storm and some have colorful pictures.
Yeah, so you know, being a family business and having small little kids that you know is into arts and going to school, and you know, we try to incorporate them from an early age into the business, have them feel like they're part of it. So these two labels are art from my kids, Owen and Elsa.
How cool is that? Ernst makes this a true family business by getting his kids involved.
This wine here is the Kingsley Sauvignon Blanc. This is Kingsley Vineyard is owned by David Walker from the Firestone Walker Brewery. It's here in Los Olivos district, which is actually kind of cool. We like to explore and learn and keep it fresh. So last year I thought, like, let's do a skin ferment. So you basically don't destem the fruit and press it off, you ferment it on the skins. What I typically get here on the nose is this kind of white peach, more stone fruit, where this is more citrus. I get more stone fruit here. I get more white pepper, you know, and I think that comes from the fact that it was on the skins. Mm-hmm. There's more tannin, there's more texture.
Yeah. I'd say like a little more tart, a little more balance.
Yeah, exactly.
A little full flavor. All right, let's go into the red.
Let's try this John Sebastiano Pinot Noir. So you know, part of what we do is we work with the same vineyards year after year. It's all on long-term contracts, sustainable, organic, or biodynamic. We feel like it's very important to give back and to realize that we only have one planet and one Santa Barbara County. So to us, it's very important that we do our part.
Ernst's passion for sustainability is truly admirable. You may remember we talked with him earlier this season at Grimm's Bluff, where he works on environmentally friendly wines there as well.
This is an organic vineyard. Our block is organic. This was planted in 2006. We've been in this little block since 2010, so we've seen the evolution. We've seen the change. We've seen the effect of vine age. This is Santa Rita Hills, John Sebastiano Vineyard, towards the east of Santa Rita Hills, slightly warmer site, but it always maintains a lot of elegance. Depending on the site, we use whole cluster or not. No whole cluster here. We feel like it already has this kind of underbrush quality. Very classic, elegantly styled Pinot, where you're not manipulating it, and it's lower alcohol. It really captures all the different sites within Santa Barbara County, and to us that's really fun to see.
And our fourth wine.
This is a new wine for us. Although we've been working with this vineyard, when I worked for the Firestone family and for Curtis, we used to work with this fruit a lot. It's Curtis Vineyard, right on Fox and Canyon. And yeah, there's something about Cab Franc when it's made in that carbonic style that's very refreshing.
Tell us carbonic. It seems to be more wines are coming out there, this, that way, maybe a little chilled. What's carbonic compared to a classic style?
Yeah, so carbonic maceration or fermentation is where you basically take the berries and the clusters as you pick them and put them in a tank. You saturate the tank with CO2, and the fermentation takes place in the berries. There's no punch downs in the beginning, or so each little berry is its own fermentation. And you saturate it with CO2. You draw down juice from the bottom, throw it over the top. And what this does is it gives you kind of this kind of bubble gumminess in the wine, very fruit-driven aromatics and flavors. It's become very hip.
Yeah.
I'd say it's I hate to say it, but it's just a hipster wine. And the goal is to make something that's refreshing again. You know, where you can put this in the fridge, and you've got your friends over for a barbecue. You pull this out, throw it in the ice bucket, and it's delicious.
Yeah.
It's just fresh, clean, unpretentious. Nobody has to go into detail about anything. It's just crushable.
Is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's complex yet approachable. You know, like I love drinking older world wines, but there's a place for this. You know, when you're midweek barbecuing, your wife's making dinner, you just want something you can drink while you're eating or making food. It's unpretentious, but yet fresh, lower alcohol, so it means you're not getting hammered instantly. So you're actually enjoying it, and yeah, it's definitely a huge part of our program going forward.
Yeah, it's delicious. That spice,
Yeah,
and then the fruit, and then it goes away, and it's clean, and you're ready for your next sip.
Yeah, you get that kind of jalapeno, bell pepper, but with fresh cherries and fresh red fruit too.
Without the bitterness of a Cab Franc that it could have.
Exactly. You know, in Santa Barbara County, we're blessed with obviously really good climate, good soils, so we're able to make a lot of different varietals.
I love hanging out with Ernst because although his wines are delicious and I love drinking every one of his wines, he's also a hoot to hang out with as well. A heck of a guy. I love his wife and his kids and an incredible family here in the Santa Ynez Valley. So I understand we're going to go out to the vineyard.
Yeah, let's go check out Curtis.
Awesome, let's go. If you ever get the opportunity to walk through a vineyard in the Santa Ynez Valley, definitely take advantage of it. It's so peaceful, and there's nothing better than walking down the rows with the actual winemaker.
Yeah, so Shelby, welcome to Curtis Vineyard here. This is one of our cornerstones of our Santa Ynez Sauvignon Blanc. This vineyard was planted 20 plus years ago. You could see how thick they are.
How long do vines produce?
Depending on how healthy they are, they could produce fruit for 50 years. I feel like this block has been a cornerstone of our Santa Ynez Sauvignon Blanc. It's on the Fox and Canyon. It's on this little mesa. It gets this cool breeze, as you can see. We've been in this block for 10 plus years, and it makes our Sauvignon Blanc what it is.
And one of the more mature blocks in Santa Barbara County, right?
Yeah, it's a very healthy block. We love it. The row orientation is perfect because you've got the sun on that side. You always have shade on this side, and it's a really good component to our Santa Ynez Sauvignon Blancs. It kind of gives you that kind of grassiness with fruit.
It certainly does. Thank you again for having us out today. Very special. Please tell us how we can learn more about Storm Wines and get some.
The best way to do it is to go online, stormwines.com. Social media, visit us on Instagram. We do a lot of postings about what we're doing, and then come visit us in Los Olivos at our tasting room.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
This valley is so rich with history. As we've learned at both locations today, immigrants have come from around the world to this beautiful valley to build better lives for themselves and create amazing wine for us all to enjoy. You've got to come and check it out for yourself.